I'm Mandy Yarkich from Creative Matters, and you're listening to Creative Matters on Air, where I have conversations with new and established artists from around New Zealand. I love to listen to artists' stories and learn about their creative process, and maybe you do too, which is why I've made this podcast, to inspire, inform and educate. I hope you can take away something positive and encouraging from each of these amazing stories to help you on your own creative journey. Hi and welcome to Creative Matters. Thank you very much for joining me. Today I am talking to Lucy Davidson. Lucy is a contemporary landscape painter from the Tutukaka Coast in Northland, New Zealand, and she currently lives in Auckland. Her abstract paintings explore the notion that nature and human emotion are interconnected and affect each other. To Lucy, memories are inherent in our natural landscape, and she uses colour to highlight the things we might miss in our daily encounters with natural elements. Her experiences at Elam School of Fine Arts in Auckland, New Zealand, and in the film, TV and design industries in her early 20s have informed her painting practice, and she is now a full-time artist at the age of 30. She has created a busy practice and an inspiring life for herself that allows for freedom, flexibility, and creativity. Good morning, Lucy.
Good morning, Mandy.
It's great to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having me out. It was a beautiful drive and, gorgeous morning to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Creative Matters.
I'm really looking forward to this chat and looking forward to, just connecting. It's been a while.
Absolutely. No, it's really nice to have you here. All right, Lucy, let's go right back to the beginning. Can you tell us, please, where you were born and some things about your childhood and what sort of child you were?
Sure. I was born in Northland in Whangarei. And when I was about 8, my parents took a year out and we moved to Dunedin for a year. And then when we came home, we moved out to the coast, to Nungaru, where my parents still are. And they bought a beautiful lifestyle block out there that runs down to the estuary, which has just been a continuous source of inspiration. And I guess, we had a really creative childhood. My parents are teachers, so I was always in the drama department with Dad, setting up rigs for shows and painting the backdrops from when I was really young, and doing, costume design and music and all of those wonderful things involved with storytelling for drama. And Mum's a writer and she was very creative. She took us to lots of art classes when we were young. I did mine and my sister's work because she's more involved with science. She's a nurse. Just all the things we explored, all the different creative things, and just had a really, awesome childhood. It was really fun.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. And that Tutukaka Coast is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, very inspiring. And as a child, were you making things at that time?
We were doing fashion shows, and I was always dressing my friends and relatives for shows that we put on for the family at Christmas time and big productions. So I was always behind the scenes doing hair and makeup and cutting up probably gorgeous silk scarves that my grandmother had given us, and making costumes and painting envelopes, everything. I remember painting my bedroom wall, and my mum came in and it was probably pretty bad. Just always kind of behind the scenes doing touch-ups and changing the colour of walls and renovating from a very young age.
So good. And so did you take that creativity into your high school years?
I did. I went to Tukipunga High School, where both of my parents were teachers, and I got instantly involved with the drama department, dance, music, and art, all the subjects. I petitioned to swap out maths for extra art subjects. I remember doing that, and I had to take maths in my lunch hour so that I could add those extra subjects in, because I just wanted to do them all. I wanted to do printmaking, photography, painting, and sculpture, sewing, just, everything. So the school was they really catered to that, and they really supported, I guess, my headstrong nature of wanting to be involved in everything and do all the creative subjects. So that I was really grateful to have teachers sort of backing me there. And Mum and Dad always said as long as I did English and science, I could do any other subject, probably because my godfather was a science teacher and they were the English teachers. So.
Yeah, but that is so good that the school had that flexibility.
It was amazing. Yeah. And it's a very small school. I think there were only 600 students when I was there. So, and that's from intermediate through to high school. So they were, every teacher knew you personally and was very involved in what your passions and interests were. So, yeah.
And that's Whangarei.
That's in Whangarei, yeah. I think one of your fellow creative, Carly Rusk, she went to Tiki as well, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just sent her a message to say,
cool.
Hi.
That's awesome. How good is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go with your art subjects, and, what kind of thing were you making at that time?
I was doing lots of drama, and I was involved with shows. Dad was running the department then at the time, and so he was often taking us to the Shakespeare festivals and doing entries. He did lots of fairy tales and directed the plays, and so I was really involved in the drama department. And through that, I think I started painting the backdrops and being involved more in the props and the set design, and I really loved that more than acting, even though I was performing in the shows too. And I think that's where I really fell in love with with design, was through the art department and that supporting role for productions and being part of a community of fellow creatives.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a good way to start. And would you actually, when you were doing your painting subject, for example, did you start to develop some kind of practice then, do you think, or was it just kind of more experimental at that time?
I guess it was its own practice of sorts. It's very different to what I'm producing now. I was doing a lot of portraiture back in high school, and that was around identity with, the projects that you're given in high school. I had amazing art teachers who I just always think about. They just went above and beyond to make sure that everyone found their feet, and so much so that my seventh form art teacher, Mari, put my proposal into Elam because I'd decided to go to graphic design school, and I was all enrolled and had the interview and was ready. And she said, I think you've overseen art school, and I don't know if you should roll it out. And so she said, I'm going to send your portfolio in, and it's done. It's done, and just have a think about it. And then I just did this full 180 and just decided to go to art school instead. And,
wow.
So I think that backing from them and just always opening the door for things. They were just always ready to, pick up on what you were maybe I said I wanted to do design, but my heart was with painting. And for whatever reasons, if they were commercial reasons, because I didn't think I could make a living as an artist, they ignored those and just sort of said, why don't you just give it a shot?
Which is so fantastic.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
How incredible. And you'll always be grateful for those kind of teachers in your life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And lovely for you that you felt that they believed in you and, thought you had a career ahead of you.
Yeah, very, very grateful for them. And they were amazing artists themselves. They did beautiful work, and we just had such a good time in the art department. We were always there after hours. They would buy us fish and chips at lunchtime if we had a big deadline to meet in terms of boards, and we had the music cranking, and it was just an absolute buzz. Everyone wanted to be in that painting room, and we had this little kind of closet I call it a closet, but it's like a little side room off the painting room. And if you just shut the door, no one knew you were in there. So you could get away with being in there a lot.
Yeah.
And skipping, maybe I shouldn't say that, but skipping other subjects to just tuck away and work on,
Yeah, which is so good. And it's establishing, the way that you are going to be probably for the rest of your life in some ways. And when you hear stories like that, for me, I'm like, oh my God, it would be an amazing job being an art teacher at secondary school in some ways. I think there's downsides too with the sort of formal approach and, what you have to, the boxes that you have to tick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look back at that a lot and think, I nearly went to teacher training college. I went to the first day and then I dropped out. Really? Decided to do something else.
Yeah.
But,
so tell us about that journey into Elam, and did you go there straight from school, or how did that happen?
I did. I left home when I was 17 and moved to Auckland, and I started at Elam and was there for 4 years. So it was a bit of a roller coaster leaving home, as I'm sure many people experience. It was just, big city compared to small town Nungaru, and everything just felt overwhelming and huge. And university was huge. I can't even remember how I found my way around campus, but there were just so many buildings and I was always running late. Just used to knowing everything like the back of your hand, and then getting into such a big space. But it really opened my eyes, and I really enjoyed the subjects that I took. I took a lot of film papers at university, and that became sort of my minor, was film and television. And I did a little bit of painting, but not all the way through. I mainly did film through Elam and video. Yeah, so then I started working with a production company straight in my 4th year, and was an intern for them and learnt how to edit and put together videos, which was a really cool experience. And then I sort of took a little bit of time out to go travelling and came back, did my first painting.
Wow.
Not my first painting, but my first painting since art school.
And for your first painting for yourself.
For myself, exactly, not for any grading or anybody else. And I just painted these large figures on the beach, and that was sort of the start of an idea to put a piece of work together, and a body of work together. And then I ended up taking so I'm skipping forward a little bit now, but this is a couple of years out of uni. I took a job with a magazine, and I was working as a graphic designer and working for the film company.
Wow.
And then I just was falling in love with painting again. And so I think I took on a third job, and I was working as an interior designer as well. Wow. And I was just trying to find my feet, trying to find all these things that I loved. And I took some time out. I took 6 months where I just said I'd do contracts for the magazine to get that in production. And I moved home to Nungaru to mum and dad's, and I set up a little studio up there in their house, which they were renovating. And I helped them renovate the property. And I painted every morning from sort of 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then I'd stop and help them work and do dinner and things. And there were these just really long days where I was working through all of these ideas that I had to paint, and it just was spilling out. And I was there for 6 months creating. And I came back to Auckland and I had a show, and that was the first show.
Oh my gosh. So how many years ago was that?
That was, I think, 2016? 17. I'll have to look that one up.
So sort of 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. I mean, I'd love to know when you first started, when you did that first painting after that time, what was it? How did you feel getting back into painting, and what was it that sort of took you down another path?
It was an amazing feeling. I painted this huge piece. It was 2 meters by 2 meters square, and it was a figure of a boy. And I think I'd just broken up with a boyfriend, or I was breaking up with a boyfriend. And so maybe there was a bit of that coming out, and I just painted this person in detail. And then the other piece later was a girl, so that was probably representative of me or of lovers lost or something like that. And they were on this coastline separated by oceans, and that was my partner, a nice story. And so it was sort of, I guess, a really cathartic painting of emotion and loss and love and all of those things. And I'd turned to the ocean for healing and, working through all of that. So then these paintings evolved into seascapes. And I just remember having been to Europe for a few months and seeing all these artists paint in expressive styles. I was so inspired to just abstract reality because I had been painting quite formally. And that must have been the birth of the abstraction love affair that I have.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Started with a
breakup.
A breakup, a love affair coming to an end, and then it was the beginning of a new love affair.
Yeah. And it was the beginning of a new love affair because then I had that show, and through the process of putting that on, I fell back in love with that person, and he's my partner today.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's even better. It's a true love story.
Yeah, so
How
we're
beautiful.
engaged now, which is
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, that is a beautiful story. Wow, you've just made it even more beautiful saying that you're back with this guy. So how cool is that? Wow. Okay, so the love affair began in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you kind of, from that time at your parents' home, which would have been such a treat to have so much time to paint, what happened from there with your show? How did you get the show?
There were a few things working in the background, and there always are in my life. I seem to, always have multiple jobs or side things going on. But I had done a piece for an interior designer who's a very good friend of mine now, and I was working as an interior design assistant for her, and we'd put together this look for a showroom, and the budget didn't allow for original artwork. We were going to have to do a print, and I just didn't really like that. It was the first project that I'd really been involved with and had a lot of say in, and I really wanted them to have this amazing hero feature piece. So I painted it, and that was hard on it was around the same time as this show was coming together, and I started to just get some clients through that. So once that all came to fruition, the show sold out. We hosted it in Newmarket in a little community gallery that one of my good friends from university was running. And yeah, I just sold every piece, and that was just so exciting. And then I had this client, showroom piece, and at that moment I just sort of had the spark of, this just brings me so much joy, and this makes me so happy and inspired. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I just don't want to go to teacher training college, which is what I'd planned to do. I don't want to work in commercial design anymore. And that was where that spark was born. And I just kind of kept going and kept painting and working.
That's so great that you had that sort of really early on, had that affirmation that your work is, is going to be well received.
It was the most joyous experience to just have, and it was such an amazing turnout on opening night, and we'd invited, all of these design clients and people from the industry where I was working in film and people from the design industry, and I just felt like all of these connections and came together and came there for me, and it was just the most incredible moment. I just will never forget that, and having that buzz. And I'd done a mural for a cafe, and he said, "Oh, look, I'll do your food. I'll provide the food for the event, and I had some people donate some wine, and it just felt like the most incredible, coming together of support. And I hadn't asked for any of it. I just said, I've created these works, and can we put them up and, in the space. And I just absolutely, that was the first time I think that I'd experienced that support of the art community, because maybe I was a bit disconnected at art school or something, but that felt different. and really positive.
And it's a real reflection, I'd say, on you as a person as well as your talent.
Thank you.
I mean, I think that I can see just from meeting you today that you are that kind of person who gathers people around you. And, you've obviously done that in those different industries within the art industry, which is so amazing. And then you've kind of taken that along on your next journey.
Yeah. More of that, please, because it's just, that's something I've really missed from being in isolation and, not just from the outer world, but sometimes going internally as we do as artists. That's why I'm really thrilled to be here, because it's so lovely to connect and actually just get outward with. It's easy to naturally regress and retreat.
And I think a lot of artists have found that hard over the last couple of years with the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's so lovely for me to meet you, Lucy, because we've already talked about you possibly joining Creative Matters as an educator, so you never know. It's very cool.
I'd love to be a part of that.
That'd be great. So just for the people who don't know your work, Lucy, I mean, you can see your work on your blog post, which is on our website, but can you just describe your painting if you can? I know it's a tricky one, but give people a sense of your painting who don't know your work.
My painting I would describe as contemporary landscape. However, I try to bring in lots of hints to language and to different ideas through that. And I do that through titling and through the abstraction process. So it explores a lot of, emotional states. It explores just things that are happening in the world around us, and I do that through light and line work. The line work often represents not just geographical reference, but some sort of other storytelling link. Like at the moment, I'm working on a series called Engraved, and using laser etchings to explore those different connections with overseas, and I'm kind of drawing inspiration from lyrics of songs and to bring together my relatives and friends who are disconnected. So it's about communication and and distance, I guess.
And your work is very when you look at it, it's very cohesive, even though you sort of bring in different elements. So, there's the sort of reference to landscape, but there's also, like you said, the line work, and then texture and using different sort of materials like the silver pigment and gold leaf and that kind of thing, and pen. And then, as you said, the titles, I noticed that your titles are quite interesting. They sort of really help to explain what you're thinking, I guess, what's behind the painting. So can you describe the actual look? Because I'm really interested in your colour palette for a start, because there is quite a lot of pink in there, which is one of my favourite colours. Yeah. But it feels like, there is this sort of thread that goes through all the different types of paintings. So can you talk about that?
I mean, first and foremost, my biggest inspiration is the sunset and sunrise. So pink skies, I think around the world, it must be the most popular, time of day. I think everyone, you can't not like a sunrise and a sunset. It just fills you with calm and energy. And so that's my favorite those are my two favorite times of the day. So I take a lot of inspiration from the sky and from golden hour. And then I bring in other elements like the sea, or the teal blues and greens, and the bush. I draw a lot from the natural environment of up north with the estuary where we live. And I'll just slowly bring in new colours as I'm working. So I work across a big range of paintings at a time, up to sort of 20 pieces at once. And I'll have the same tubes going of paint, and then I'll slowly bring in new colours as I start to explore different sort of ideas. When I was working night shifts teaching at Paintvine, I was doing a lot of neon work because we did these After Dark series, and I think that really inspired my work. So I was, using these fluorescent paints and working with neon pinks and neon oranges, and kind of looking at how I think I look a lot at the relationship between the man-made and the natural world, even though that maybe doesn't come through my work so heavily. That's what I was exploring at university, was that kind of the machine versus nature and the organic. Hence my now return to the laser cutter.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. So do most of your paintings start with that landscape inspiration, do you think? Or do sometimes it's more of a sort of shape, geometric idea?
They're always landscape, and I think that's the constant for sure, is a geographical reference, whether that's like a memory of a place or working from a picture of a place. So definitely always start with the landscape, or start with that idea of segment of skyland, sea, or thirds. I work a lot from thirds and the rule of thirds.
And are you quite horizon driven?
Yes, always looking for the horizon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Can't seem to get away from that.
No.
It's like it's in you somewhere, isn't it? That horizon for some people.
Especially when walking and when driving. I love that moment when you drive over a hill and there's sea. Probably one of my favourite memories of driving. I used to go home every weekend when I first started university because I was so homesick and I just missed Northland. So every Friday night I'd pack up my car and head home. And the moment where you come over the Brindlewins and you've arrived in Northland, and that it was, normally the sun was sort of setting, and that horizon expands out in front of you. And then it's the home stretch for a kaka to Whangarei. And you just, that relief of, yep, here I am.
Yeah, I'm home. It's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it actually gives me goosebumps just hearing you talk about that, because and I think something about the horizon is quite grounding.
Yeah. Even though you'll never get there.
Yeah, it's true.
It's always quite out of reach.
Journey to the horizon. Yeah, that's very, very cool. So, Lucy, you obviously use a lot of different processes and different materials for your work, but could you talk us through the whole process of how you sort of come up with an idea for a painting and where you go from there and all the way to the end?
Yeah, I can. I think I will often have a seed for an idea buried really, really deep down, and it takes a little bit to surface. And I think what I've discovered is that the more I work on a series and the bigger that series is, the faster I get to that seed and sort of uncover it. So I think sometimes I'll be, for example, I did a show in 2019 called Outlines, and I think I first had the idea when I was driving on the motorway, and I was thinking about the way that life sort of rushes past, and probably that horizon seeking moments of calm and transition and between spaces. So going from I was doing a lot of transitioning in life at that time. So I was working as an artist during the day and then as a teacher in the evenings, and thinking about those different zones that we sort of occupy, and then going home and being a mother to my little German Shepherd dog, and and not so little, but so those ideas of different spaces that you occupy was coming up, but I didn't realize that was the idea for the show until I'd booked the date for the show 8 months ahead of time, and started working on 30 paintings. And I'd started, planning out these landscapes. I was pouring. So in my practice, I pour initial layers of paint. It's very fluid. I sort of mix lots of water into the acrylics, and I pour them all over the canvas, and I let them drip, and I get in there really physically. So I'm lifting them up and resting them on the wall, and then the floor, and then the table, and just there. I'm very involved with that process. And then I use a squirty bottle to kind of water it down further, and textured mediums to give them body. And then I go back in and I find the parts that I really am drawn to, and I sort of highlight those with glazing techniques. So I'll deepen those parts that are interesting, or I'll use a really fine brush and bring out the detail and trace around things. And then as I'm going, I'll be collecting reference images, and whether that's of mangroves or of different bird species, I've got those kind of gathered in the studio. And I start to find where those things could come out in the works. So they're all really organic to start with. And then I'll start to see maybe a bird shape in one, and I'll go and find the right bird for that spot. And there could be a branch organically coming out of that foot. And and so then I get in there with the detail, and that is where I could just be 12 hours on a piece without lifting my head and forget to eat, and and I'm just really absorbed in the process. And then once I'm about, I think, 3/4 of the way through is where I go, there was that moment on the motorway, and it's about space and it's about transition. And then I start to bring in that seed, that original idea, and explore that, and then hone in on that. And so I came up with some of the titles like Sightseeing in the Fast Lane, and it's just about moving through those different spaces. So
that's really fascinating.
Yeah, get in there before I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, which is amazing. And you choose how many pieces you're going to do, and you're not quite sure of the theme at the time, but you book your exhibition, which is very brave.
Yeah. I think there's something about that pressure driver that just makes it come to life.
It maybe never happens, or it never quite comes together unless you've got that deadline.
Yeah. I've always thrived under a certain amount of chaos.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you often kind of are responding to what's happening with your paint, sort of organically almost, isn't it? And then it sort of becomes something that comes from your memories or from research or So do you ever actually start with an actual landscape you start that process in a different way?
Yeah, I suppose that would be a different thread of my work, and that very much comes into play with my commissions. So commissions, I often work from a photograph or a lot of different. I ask clients to send me as many pictures as they can, because I like to fuse the different perspectives together. I don't just like to go, that's one facet of a place. So I'd like to pull out all the different elements that seem to happen in the painting process, and that's a different driver, I think. So if I'm studying a particular island or cove, landscape, whatever it is, I'll also overlay topography. So I'll pull up a map view of the location that they've sent me and try and bring in some of those lines and just get a really different dimension happening in the pieces.
That's beautiful. And so are the lines that you sometimes add to your paintings with pen, I presume, is that all sort of topography based, or is it something else that you're bringing in as well?
It's a mixture. I use a zero brush, so most of the lines are done with a really tiny brush, right, and then some with a fine marker, and I mix the two. But I will often sit with a map on my phone or a printout of a map and kind of draw from them, but also go haywire. So it's sort of a fragmented, loose, abstracted impression of the original line, so that they become a bit more organic. And then if there's a bump in the canvas, from texture that I've put down, I just let that go and let that guide the new lines. And then I add in ones that are, I don't know, I don't really know what they are.
But they've just come from somewhere within.
Yeah. I think I had a conversation with a friend a few years ago, and we'd done design together, and she said it would be really interesting to strip your paintings back to black and white, how we used to do with logo design. And that's really stuck with me. I sort of thought, I couldn't possibly do that because my paintings are so layered and they're so much about colour. But I think that is where some of those lines came from, was just trying to think about how I would represent a piece in one motion or in restricted palette.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see your work in black and white. I can't really imagine it.
I have done some ballpoint and sketch renditions.
Yeah, and it would be beautiful because you use line and shape in such a beautiful way. You probably could get still a very gorgeous work. But, colour for me is such a big part of what you're saying.
Yeah, colour and light. And so how do you restrict light into a line work?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so you use gold leaf and silver pigments and that kind of thing. So how do you add that?
So I use resin as well. So in some of my pieces I mix resin, and I will have painted a piece to sort of 3/4, and then I either drop the pigment into a varnish or I drop it into the resin as it's curing. And then that again gives those different dimensions. So then I also like to paint back on top of the resin once it's dried. And the finished result, it just looks like there's something sort of a barrier between, it's like looking through the glass at a view, but having something on the glass in the foreground as well. And I love the depth that can create, and the way that it really sets the gold leaf. It just gives it this really amazing luminosity. So, I just love those mediums.
And you work in acrylics?
Yeah, mostly. I work in acrylics mostly, sometimes oil. I'm a little bit impatient for oil. I like things to be done now.
Yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that you could actually just apply resin straight onto acrylic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. And what do you work on canvas or?
For my resin works, I use ply boards because it just holds the weight of the resin a bit more. But it will go on canvas if it's stretched well. Yeah.
And then you can paint on top, acrylic back on top of
that. You
that.
can. I've been to a number of art stores to discuss this process, but I very lightly sand it so that it gives it something to grip to. And then I spray back in with acrylic spray paint. I try to use the acrylic brands because they're a bit less toxic. And then it has a really good bond. I really enjoy the different matte and gloss as a contrast. It's really, it's beautiful.
So you don't cover the whole piece in resin?
Well, I will, but then I'll paint back into it. So then the stuff on top is matte or satin. Yeah.
And can you actually come in with a paintbrush and acrylic paint onto the resin, or does it have to be the spray version?
Yes, so long as you've just sort of lightly sanded it to give it some grip. Yeah. Otherwise it could just scratch off.
Yeah.
If it was you'd have to scratch it off, but it will. Yeah.
Interesting. And what form do you buy your resin in?
I buy the Art Resin brand, so it just comes in a big pottle, and you 2 parts, so you mix it together. It's quite a process. I look like I don't know. I wear a big gas mask and
yeah, it is quite a messy process.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. I didn't know that you could actually do that.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing.
That's cool. And how do you apply your gold leaf?
So you use a size and you paint that down with a brush and let it dry for about 15 minutes, and then you come back and it's tacky. It always stays tacky. And then I get my little gloves out and I slap it down, and then brush off the excess. And I always try to capture the excess because I reuse it, and it's just so precious. I don't want any of it to go to waste. Totally. Sometimes when I laugh or sneeze, or it just blows everywhere, and it's I've had some real moments with gold leaf flying up into the wind, and someone opens a door and it's everywhere. But
it's too expensive to let it float around.
Absolutely, it weighs, yeah.
Oh, and it's such a lovely addition to your colour palette to have the metallic with the gold and silver. It seems to really fit so beautifully.
Yeah, I think it's the closest thing to that natural shine from from the sun when it hits the water, and you get that real gleam. And
you use sort of a rust colour, I've noticed in some of your works, which complements so beautifully with those pinks and blues and greens, I guess.
I'm loving the rust at the moment, and they just remind me of the banks down by the estuary where the roots are kind of coming out through the earth, and the colours of Nico. I'm just looking out your window, and it's all in there, in the trunks and
the clay, I guess.
Yeah, too. Clay. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Who inspires you? Which artists inspire you? And
good question. So many. One of the longest standing inspirations in this, I've just stuck with him since high school, is Connor Harrington. He's an Irish painter. And he does these amazing big figurative pieces that have kind of patches missing, and his technical skill is bewildering. And they link into abstraction. And you'll have like an arm, and then the fabric sort of drips away or is translucent through to the surface that it's painted on. And he does these really large scale murals, and I've always loved that mixture of something representational into a technique that you just can't create with a camera, or it has to be paint. And it has to be loose and free, and you can just see the artist's hand in his work. And I think that's what draws me to abstraction so much, is just seeing the freeness of somebody's hand, and how organic that is. And I mean, I love all other forms. I love photography, and I love digital design as well. But I think seeing that freeness is why I'm in love with abstract.
Good answer. And I think every mark is, really does come from within the artist. That's what I love about abstraction as well.
Yes.
It's very personal. And even though other people might not understand what it's about necessarily, it's such a, mark making to me is such a beautiful process. It's such a personal thing.
Yes, absolutely. And the more you do it, the more you really see an artist's hand. You can recognize somebody's work in the way that they apply paint to canvas, or whatever it is they're putting down. It's
totally.
It's like their whole voice in a piece is really special.
And it's very personal. Yeah. And a day in the life of Lucy.
A day in the life of Lucy. Normally starts with a dog walk. We've got 2 dogs at our house, and I love to walk them in the mornings. I love coffee, so I'll always start the day with a coffee and a walk, and then I head into the studio and probably answer some emails and look at the shop and make, check any orders that are outstanding, and then I kind of plan out what I'm working on, if that's meeting a commission deadline or working on a series. And then I just crank the music or a podcast and get into it, and that's the best way to start the day.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like the beginning of my day too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good thing to go walking, I think. Just it's a nice way of kind of organising ideas.
Yeah, and I always think you feel like you've almost done a whole day before you even get started when you've had a good walk and appreciated the sunrise. And the new place that we've moved into overlooks, it's got a little glimpse of the water, and the sun rises right into my bedroom. So that's a stunning way to start the day.
Yeah, and fits so beautifully with your practice.
Yeah.
It's like the gods, the morning gods are talking.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a shared studio space in
Yeah.
Ponsonby.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so I'm downstairs at Endemic World, and there were 4 of us last year, but we've reduced to 2. So my studio buddy and I will often have coffee together and chats and talk about work, and we work a lot together as well. So I've started helping him with commercial work. His name's Sparrow, but Component is his art name, and I've started helping him out with murals, and we've just really enjoyed forming that collaboration. So we went to Queenstown earlier this year for a big project, and that's been an awesome way to stay connected and expand my practice into something slightly different, because that's working with aerosol, and he does lots of geometric work and stenciling, which is not as organic as mine. It's just a totally different, more formal way of working, and then I've brought some of that into his work, some of my organic mark making, and it's a really nice fusion.
Would be. Yeah.
So if I'm working with or alongside Sparrow, we will plan that out in the studio, and otherwise we've got similar music tastes, so we're often just cranking the music and working along and yelling at each other over the top of it. Are you ready for caffeine, or are you ready for lunch in the park or something? Yeah, so it's really fun.
Isn't it? So you've got that, you've got your own space, but you've got the benefits of having someone in that space also creating.
And we've also got the benefits of the upstairs crew at Endemic, who do all our printing and framing, and they also have a gallery at the front. So it's really an amazing dynamic space. The team up there is so awesome. They bring down my prints for me to sign, and they'll often leave me cute little notes, and it's just a really fun place to be.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And so what can you tell us about the gallery at Endemic World?
So Endemic World is a really amazing space, and they have a lot of different artists in the gallery, and Elliot, who runs the space, really supports artists to be independent, and he does a lot of work behind the scenes in helping grow a career for an artist as well, which I think is something that probably slips under the radar a bit. And recently he started a secondary part of the company called Artist Services. So there's the gallery side where he presents work to the public, and there's the gallery where you can walk in and look at paintings and get to know artists' work in there. But there's also Artist Services, so we can place orders for prints, framing, and just any inquiries that you have about what papers to use or anything like that is all there. It's all on that website, and so that's been a really amazing thing to be a part of, to learn how so he comes and asks us what would be beneficial, and he's just really incredible character, really.
That's so
very
great.
Supportive.
It sounds perfect. I mean, how did you actually discover this place?
How did I discover Endemic World? I was browsing. So I was I've been there 3 years now, and just over 3 years, and I was just in the shop, and I was wearing my paint overalls, and Elliot came up to me and said, "Do you need help with anything?" And I said, just really loving the space. And we started chatting, and he said, I feel like you look a bit familiar. And I wasn't sure how he recognized me or whatever, but I think it was Instagram. So good old social media set us up. And then we got chatting, and he said, would you like to have your work here? And I was thrilled to do that. So we started stocking his space, and this must be about 5 years ago. And then we got to know each other through having my work in the gallery. And one day I mentioned that I was looking for a space, and he said, well, look, I've got room downstairs. You're welcome to come in and trial it out, and if you love it, you can stay. And I loved it, so I stayed.
3 years later, you're still there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah, and he supported me through the show I was talking about earlier, Outlines. And
that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like just such a win-win situation. in so many ways. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and really good for facilitating the connection with other artists too, because it's a hub, and with the shows and things, you're always looking to the space to go and meet others and see other people's work. I've collected a lot of art from the gallery, and just even after hours, if I'm walking through and I see something, I'm like, oh, I might buy that tomorrow.
That's so good.
Yeah,
it could be dangerous.
It is quite dangerous. But
that's brilliant, and it's a nice way to work. And you don't ever feel like you'd like a studio on your property? You like to head off out to the studio?
Maybe one day I'll do that again, but I did do that for a couple of years before I took up the endemic world space. We lived out in Greenhithe, and I had a little conservatory studio out there, and that was amazing because I had flatmates at the time who worked from home, so we had that within the house. But I think being isolated all the time was too hard, or is too hard, and not something I'm looking to do at the moment.
Yeah.
I just like the connection, and even though you do work alone, you have that time at morning tea or lunchtime to just see another human and have a hello.
Yeah, I know. It's a funny one, especially when you're younger. You're 30.
Yes, just turned 30. Yeah,
and I was the same at that age. I couldn't imagine having too much time to myself. Well, not that you do, but, I needed a lot of stimulation. I think now I'm older, I don't mind the alone time as much. It's something that I've kind of grown into, which is nice, as long as I don't become a hermit of some sort.
Yeah. I think it just naturally goes with the territory of creating. I mean, you can still spend 10 hours without seeing anybody, but it is nice to just have access when you need it, and for advice and for critical feedback as well. I think it's really important part of my practice at the moment.
Absolutely. It sounds so good. Yeah, brilliant. And onto the commercial side of your practice, you seem very good. I mean, it may be because you're 30, not 50, but you're very good at Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing, keeping up to date with your socials.
If you look closely, I'm probably not so good.
But you do have
very
a kind
sporadic.
Of, what you present is really nice. Like, you take somebody's taking good photos.
Yeah.
And you're kind of a part, your face is part of the brand, which is brave for some artists, would prefer not to do that, which I think is nice, because people can kind of connect with your practice in some ways when they're seeing something of you. So how do you approach all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I definitely approach it very sporadically, and I'm trying to be a bit more consistent, because it's been a really amazing way of selling my work and connecting with an audience. So when I was in Europe, I connected with my younger cousin, and she said, "You don't have Instagram. You're a creative. That's what creatives are using." And it was a few years ago, but I was just thinking, I've got Facebook. I mean, what's this Instagram? And she made me an account and said, please get on there and get posting. It's very visual, and you'll find it a lot easier to, have an audience and to meet people through Instagram. So that's been I've really enjoyed that, because I think because it's so instant. You can connect with other artists, you can message people, you can respond. And so I try to treat it like just an open conversation. It's very casual. I post what I'm up to or not, and I share when I feel like sharing. I schedule posts sometimes, because I don't like to actually have my phone near me for long periods, which is frustrating for some people because I'm hard to reach. But yeah, so I have later, and I use that, and I will get somebody to come in and take pictures in the studio. I'll just say, I'm going to ignore you while you snap away, and I'll just keep working, because I just, I want it to feel kind of natural and
authentic.
And then so we'll just have music up and chat away, and I'll be working, and then I'll upload those pictures and sort of feed them in as I'm talking about a series onto social media.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really does work well. And do you do many videos of your process and that kind of thing?
When I remember, I'm normally about 3/4 of the way through a painting before I go, oh, that would have made a great time lapse. But when I remember, I will set the little tripod up and do a time lapse, or I'm just really free and I'll be painting with one hand and sort of scanning along with the phone on the other. And but again, with days where I have someone to come in, I've got a lovely girl, another Lucy, who comes in to help me take shots of my work, and yeah, she's a really good friend of mine, so just incredibly natural with her, and she'll just say, hey, can you just go over and work on that one, and I'll be like, what? Oh, okay, yeah, cool, you're still here and photographing.
Yeah, which is actually perfect. And she probably captures something of you and your personality because she knows you.
Yes.
It's actually good to have somebody kind of lined up for the photography, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I found I wasn't doing it before I committed to having her to come in. And then I'd miss these huge, big, long segments of a process or of a piece. And somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I saw the early process video of this piece, but you haven't posted any finished shots of it. Where is it? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So I've just tried to think a little bit more and asked Luce to help me with getting that start to finish story happening so that it's consistent, and otherwise I'd be just dropping off.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's quite good to have a bit of a plan, I guess, with that kind of thing. And, thinking about who your audience is and what they might be wanting, even though it may not be what you're thinking about at the time, is good. Yeah, and it's a great record, isn't it? It's like a gallery in itself.
Yeah.
And are you really sort of particular about formatting?
No.
That's good. It probably all looks gorgeous with your lovely colour palette anyway.
Not particular at all, and I just really go on what I think would look nice next to the last one. I sort of loosely think, oh, if that was a close-up, maybe I'll do something from further back, but that's not too, I mean, I try a little bit sometimes, but then I'll just go.
Not too forced.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. And what is it that you love most about what you do?
The freedom to just explore and express, and the meditation of painting, I think, has been really beautiful for my life. And but freedom, I think, just also not just from a sense of creating and expressing, but from a place of being able to be available for friends and family. And I've really enjoyed, since stepping back from some of my other commitments, being able to pop up north and have a day with my parents, or go out to the beach for inspiration on a day where I'm physically exhausted from painting so much, and just being able to shape the day however you feel, with deadlines in mind. But I love those longer stretches for a deadline, rather than every day having to sign tasks off.
Yeah.
Or when I was in production, working to the monthly deadline, which was very, very strict.
And really tight. Yeah. That flexibility is a beautiful thing. And just prioritizing, for me, having time, or just kind of working my workload around things like my grandson.
Yes.
And my parents.
Yes.
And it's important. I mean, you
design your life.
Yeah. That's important stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It means you don't miss things, that are, it means I can knock off early on a Friday afternoon and plan a really special getaway weekend for close friends, or, and be there to be part of those moments. And I've really thought about that lately, how amazing that is. I'm not locked into a room with daily deadlines.
Yeah. And it's great that you've done that. You've created that for yourself at such a young age.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And it's a little bit of risk taking with that kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. But I did it slowly, and I integrated, I had my 3 other supporting roles for a number of years before I actually cut ties and went full time. And they've all had such an incredible role in my practice because, you know, I learned design and I learned Photoshop and InDesign through the magazine, and I learned how to edit videos through the production company, and I learned how to take care of clients through my years in hospitality, and I learned how to teach through my years at Paintvine. And I think every single career, you know, string has had a good influence on where I'm at now. Yeah,
for sure. And you probably wouldn't be quite ready to make that sort of leap without having so much experience. I mean, even in that, in your reasonably short life, you know, you've achieved so much and done so many different things, which has given you the sort of impetus and you know, the knowledge to kind of create your own world.
Yeah, and the I think the knowledge in failure and you know, in all of those experiences, there have been some epic failures, or not, you know, learning experiences.
Exactly.
And so just learning that's all a part and parcel of life, and it's all okay to just fumble away and to learn as you go and experiment. And if you ruin a canvas, that's no big deal. You can paint over it again, and
and those failures, you know, so-called failures, often sort of inform the, you know, the choices that you make later in life, and can be actually positives in the end. Yeah,
and it's funny what we deem as failures too, because speaking of that, I went in to see John from Print Art, and who does the printing for me and many creatives, and he said, "Oh, Lucy, these are gorgeous." And I said, "Oh, this is failure 1 and failure 2, and I'm bringing them for you to document just in case I change my mind one day."
Really?
And he was just like, "I don't understand why you've deemed them as failures, but I think we get very in our head about what we expect something to turn out like. You know, if you have a vision for something and then it works out differently." And I've since fallen in love with those pieces, and they've found, you know, lovely homes. And so it's all about the framing, I think, sometimes.
Totally. Yeah. And then just getting some input from somebody else can help you to see something through different eyes.
Different lens. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say to people, you know, in their sort of early 20s starting on their creative journey, or, you know, even for people partway through their lives who are just kind of starting up? What advice do you have?
Ooh, just do it. Go for it. Be brave and take lots of advice. Ask for the critical feedback and don't be afraid of the answers. You know, really, I always ask my peers and my colleagues for their perspective, and sometimes it hurts, but I think it just helps you to expand and grow. So never shy away from feedback.
Nice. And what legacy would you like to leave through your art?
The ability to be free and to curate the life that you would like to live. And
beautiful.
Yeah, just appreciation for our natural world and the special things.
Nice. And Lucy, I feel like there is a lot ahead of you. I feel like, you know, it's going to be really interesting watching your career. I can see you doing all sorts of different things. But what can you see is in the future for you?
Hopefully a collaboration. I've been really looking forward to and just manifesting a good collaboration with, I don't know if it's one other artist or a group of artists, but I'd love to bring back some of that community that I was talking about earlier with the sort of production side of things, and get on board with a crew and do some really cool work together and just have fun doing it.
I'm sure you will too. Oh, well, we have to finish, but Lucy, it's been a total pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been super fun, and I hope that you will join the team, so I'm going to try and lock you in.
I would love to join the team. I just love what you're doing. I think, it's just such an important part of creativity and connecting and inspiring each other, so let's do it.
Thank you. Awesome. And, thank you so much for being with us today.
Cheers, Mandy.